I thwarted a kidnapping while delivering a pizza. I'm a pizza delivery driver. One night, I was swamped, racing around town nonstop. I didn't even have time to take a leak. It was so hectic I wasn't thinking about bathroom breaks, even though it was scorching hot, and I was chugging water like crazy. On my way to another delivery, I suddenly had to pee badly. Luckily, I was close to the customer's place and figured I'd handle my situation quick. Or so I thought. I pulled up to the house in a familiar college neighborhood where I delivered plenty of times. But something felt off. The house was pitch black, no lights, no TV flicker, nothing. The street was dead silent. It's a college area, so in July, most student renters are gone, but someone had to be there, right? The person who ordered the pizza, at least. Maybe they just like sitting in the dark or were chilling in the backyard. Still, I wasn't about to get out and knock on a creepy, dark house. It was around 9:30 p.m., and I wasn't moving until I confirmed the address and knew someone was inside. It was a brutally hot evening, even after sunset. My car's AC is garbage, and the pizzas baking in the back seat didn't help. I kept the door closed to keep the heat out. I called the number the customer left, and on the other end, I heard heavy, frantic breathing and a quick hello. I kept it simple. Hey, your pizza's here, but it looks like nobody's home. The customer, still panting, said, Yeah, I'm not at home. By then, I had to pee so bad my patience snapped. I barked, sharper than usual, then I'll have to cancel the order. I'm here in the delivery window, and you were supposed to pay cash. Plan better next time. I instantly regretted letting my bladder do the talking because the voice on the other end got clearer, a young woman, maybe 20 to 25, sounding super shaken. Oh my God, I was running down the street and almost didn't hear you, she said, her voice trembling. I switched from my AirPods. Sorry, I lost track of time at work, but I knew you were coming, so I'm literally sprinting home. Please don't leave. I'm starving, and I don't have a car. Seriously, don't go. 5 minutes, tops. I know what it's like to be hungry, late, carless, and far from food joints. Plus, her voice jogged my memory. I delivered to her before, and she was always nice. Now I felt like a jerk for snapping at her. Trying to smooth things over while standing for a spot to pee, I said, No, my bad. This heat's driving me nuts. You're fine. Take your time, I'll wait. I hung up and realized I was out of luck. Every other house had people, and they were packed close together, no trees or secluded corners. Of course, like an idiot, I tossed my empty water bottle at the last stop. It was an emergency. The safest spot was a bush in front of her house. She wasn't home, the front light was off, and the street was empty. My car was across the road, and our small pizza shop doesn't have uniforms, so even if someone saw me, they couldn't tie me to the job. Animals pee outside all the time, and humans are animals, right? No big deal. I darted to the tallest bush in her tiny front yard, just a path with shrubs and flowers by the door. The densest bush, where I wouldn't splash the house, was about 3 feet from the front door. I glanced around, unzipped, and let it rip. The second I felt relief, I noticed the sound was wrong, like I was peeing on something solid, not dirt. Panicking, I thought I'd missed. But you can't stop midstream, so I squinted into the dark, thinking maybe it was a rock and I could shift a bit. Then I heard a worse sound, a low voice growling, What the fuck? Before I could turn, thinking a neighbor caught me, a guy bolted out of the bushes. He ran past, shaking off my piss, and spat hard, like I'd hit his face. My eyes adjusted to the dark, and I caught his height, build, and clothes vaguely before he vanished. I think I heard tires screech down the street a minute later. I was so shocked I didn't even tuck myself back in. I just stood there, brain scrambling for an explanation that made this normal. Maybe the bushes led to a backyard? Maybe they hid an open window? But my gut screamed, bro, that dude was in a hoodie in 90-degree heat. He's bad news. You're in deep shit. The idea that I was steps away from a guy hiding in bushes outside a young woman's house at night freaked me out. My fight or flight was broken, and my dumb brain did the last thing it should have. I checked the bushes to find a normal reason a guy in a hoodie was hiding there. I circled around, turned on my phone's flashlight, and peeked behind. That's when I saw it, a beat-up cloth backpack, slightly wet from my pee. In my stunned state, I grabbed it, thinking, this explains it. But when I opened it, I found a sharp knife, duct tape, and some pills. All my denial collapsed. Adrenaline, endorphins, and survival instincts flooded in. My only goal was to get to my car. I dropped the bag, sprinted across the street, jumped in, and floored it before the door even closed. I drove as fast and far as I could until I hit a red light. Pulling over, I realized I was too shaken to drive safely. I parked at a 24-hour pharmacy lot and caught my breath. Finally calm enough to buckle up, my first clear thought was who to call first, the police or the girl. I debated for maybe 10 seconds, but it felt like an hour. I decided, okay, I'm in a locked car, engine running. If shit goes down, I can peel out. The girl might not know something's wrong, so I had to warn her not to go home. But as I dialed her number, it hit me, what if there was no girl? I thought I'd delivered to her before, but what if I was wrong? What if she was bait to lure me there to rob or worse? Every pizza driver's seen Evil Genius, so I thought, she was out of breath, not home. This is sketchy. I can't risk it. Cops first. I called 911. The operator was super calm and helped me chill out because I was a mess. They said police were on the way. I kept insisting they had to get there before the girl, but I was rambling, trying to say 3 things at once, making myself sound less credible. It came out like, you gotta save this girl, he was waiting for her, not me. I just deliver pizza. But if he was after me, maybe there's no girl. But I talked to her, so you gotta find her, she might be bait. But if she's real, she doesn't know about this guy. He was real, and there could be more if she exists. Even if she doesn't, there might be others. I only checked some bushes, so I don't know. But we can ID the guy I saw, I pissed all over him. Not on purpose. I thought she was real but not home. But she might be real, and you have to find her because that guy was definitely real. They told me to shut up and stay on the line. Then the customer called, but I couldn't answer without dropping 911, so I ignored it. She texted, hey, I'm here, where are you? I told 911 she'd arrived, and they said cops were 2 minutes out. But after my panicked rant, who knows? Guilt hit me hard. Rationally, the chance she was part of a scam against a pizza guy was low. It was way more likely she was a real victim of a creep. I unmuted 911 and heard them but kept them from hearing me. I turned around, heart pounding like it had burst, muttering fuck, fuck, fuck the whole way. I told 911 I was going back for her. They hated that, but I saw her walking between parked cars, looking for mine. I flashed my headlights, and she jogged over, carefree. That seemed like a good sign, she wasn't in on it. But I was terrified, not knowing what was going on. I whispered, get in, get in. She was like, get in? What? You want me to grab the pizza from the trunk? Not wanting to repeat my 911 ramble, I stuck to the facts. There was a man in your bushes. I'm on with the police. I don't know where he is. Please get in so we can lock the doors. I was shaking like I'd downed 10 espressos, showing her my phone with the 911 call to prove it. I thought that's why she got in without hesitation, but it wasn't the only reason. I told 911, she's with me. Are you still there? Is she safe? Is anyone else out there? They kept asking who the third person was, confused. I calmed them down, and we drove carefully to the spot they told us to wait while they swept the area. The police showed up fast. A patrol car pulled up, I gave my statement, and she went to give a more detailed one. Turns out, she climbed into a stranger's car because my description of the guy in the bushes made her realize who it was, her abusive ex, a total nutcase. She knew it was him the second I said, man in your bushes. Later, she called the pizzeria to thank me and insisted on leaving a huge tip. I wasn't there, so the guy who took the call didn't know to refuse it. The manager promised next time we see her, we'll hook her up with free pizza for life. This was, hands down, the scariest thing that's ever happened to me, on or off the job. I don't tell this story often because I don't want anyone identifying her or anything about the case. But it changed me. Even knowing that guy wasn't after me, it shook me to my core. Before we move to the next story, I'll mention that in my last Scary Stories video, I asked what kind you wanted for this one, obviously made up or more realistic. So, these are real stories, or at least they feel that way, and the authors swear they happened. Now, on to the next one. Story 2: The Crazy Guy Came Back. A crazy guy scared the crap out of me when I was a kid, and he came back 16 years later. This happened when I was about 9. I'm 25 now, and I'll never forget it. It still gives me chills. I lived in a townhouse, 4 units connected. Each had a small backyard patio. About 30 feet from our patio was a little road where people walked on weekends. A low fence separated our patio from the road. The area was pretty dense with similar townhouses, so the road saw a lot of foot traffic. Nothing unusual, but a random dude standing on our patio? That's weird. When I was 9, I get home from school about an hour before my mom got off work. The school was like 150 feet away, so she figured I was old enough to be home alone for an hour. That day, I got home, locked the front door, double-checked the back patio door, and went upstairs to play PlayStation before Mom made me do homework. Being alone at 9 was a little spooky, even in the daytime. While playing, I heard a noise outside. My room was above the patio, facing that road. It sounded like a cat, and since my cat had been missing for over 3 months, I got excited, thinking, oh my god, is he back? I ran downstairs to check. What I saw still makes me shudder. A tall guy with black hair covering half his face like a male version of the girl from The Ring was on our patio, making high-pitched, almost cat-like noises. Brown liquid dripped down his chin, and I saw him spitting out cigarette butts from my dad's ashtray. He was eating them. I froze, staring. Then I snapped out of it and screamed loud enough for him to hear, but he didn't react, just kept eating butts. I bolted upstairs, locked my room, and called my mom, who called the police. I've never been so scared. I hid under my blanket, shaking, hearing those gross, piercing sounds from the guy eating cigarette butts on my patio. My memory blanks out there, but the next thing I recall is cops at the road by our yard, talking to him. What are you doing? Come here, or we'll come get you and arrest you. He didn't respond, just screeched louder and more often. Feeling safer with the cops there, I peeked out my window. 2 officers, a man and a woman, were at our fence. I couldn't see the creepy guy because he was right below me, out of view. The cops hopped the fence, and the guy let out the loudest scream I've ever heard, charging the woman and knocking her out cold. The male cop tossed him, and he hit the ground, still screaming. The cop barely managed to cuff him but got it done. They revived the female officer, who took a bad hit. Backup and an ambulance arrived, and the cop noticed me in the window. I must have looked wrecked because he just said, I really hope you didn't see all that. I started crying. Neighbors gathered, trying to figure out what happened. An elderly neighbor brought me downstairs and watched me until Mom got home. The police took the guy away, promising to explain later. Here's where it gets wild. The male cop came back that night to talk to me and Mom. He said the guy had severe autism and had escaped from a mental health facility about 3 miles away. He used to live in our house but had to move out when his mom, his only caregiver, died. The poor guy probably thought he'd find her there. He missed his old routine and life with her. 5 years earlier, cops had to remove him because he was incredibly strong, something about autism-related muscle tension making him stronger over time. That's why he reacted so violently that day. Still terrified, I told the cop they had to make sure it never happened again. He promised. After a few sleepless nights, life went back to normal. Years passed, and the guy never showed up until last year. By then, my parents had moved, and I'd bought the house from them. I was having morning coffee on the patio when I saw a guy standing on the road by the fence, staring at me. I nodded at him, then heard those piercing sounds. Holy shit, it was him. His hair was grayer, but I knew him by the noise. My heart raced, and I realized he must have escaped again. But as an adult, I stayed calm longer and felt sorry for him. 16 years later, he was still looking for his mom. I cautiously asked if he wanted to come onto the patio. He hopped the fence instantly. I braced for him to knock me out like the cop, but he just smiled. I offered him a seat, he didn't respond. I invited him inside, and he laughed. When we went in, his face lit up with pure joy. He was home, remembering life with his mom. I nearly teared up. He plopped on my couch, turned on the TV, and flipped to cartoons, completely engrossed. I let him enjoy it, but I knew I had to call the facility. His caregivers arrived in 10 minutes. After some coaxing, he left, crying. 2 days later, I called the facility. We made a deal. His name's Tom, and now I consider him a friend. Every Sunday since then, Tom and his caregivers come over to watch cartoons. They say it's the best part of his week. It warms my heart. Comment, damn, something's in my eye, and it won't stop watering. You're an amazing person. I once met a kid with autism while working as a furniture repair tech. I went to a house where the issue was a broken couch armrest, the kid's favorite spot. He sat, lay, and jumped there. I could have said it was user damage, not covered by warranty, but instead, I spent hours reinforcing it with beams, thick foam, and long screws. It'd take a sledgehammer to break it now. Then I let the kid raise and lower my van's power windows 50 times, he loved them. He hugged me, and I left. The next day, his mom called, insisting I come back to thank me. I said it wasn't necessary, but she wouldn't budge. I stopped by, and she shoved $100 in my hand, tears in her eyes. It feels good to remember helping them and how much they appreciated it. Just wanted to share. Story 3, my brother saw a ghost. When I was about 7 and my brother was around 10, he saw a ghost as a kid. 10 years later, I figured out what he really saw. It was well past midnight when our mom woke up on the couch to put us to bed. Dad worked construction out of town, so it was often just the three of us for weeks. Up the stairs, our parents' bedroom was to the right. To the left was a hallway. My brother's room was down the left side, mine was on the right, across from the bathroom. Glass doors, which we always kept locked and rarely used, were at both ends of the hallway. The one by my room led to a balcony overlooking the front yard, the one by my brother's led to the back porch. Our house sat on a small hill. Mom and my brother often got up at night to use the bathroom. I knew because I'm a light sleeper, and they always flushed with the door open. That night, as my brother headed back to his room, he stopped by the bathroom and said, "I'm gonna try to pee before bed." The last few nights, I've been too scared to go to the bathroom. I keep seeing a guy in stripes at the end of the hallway. Maybe Mom thought he was trying to scare me, or she was too sleepy to care, but she didn't react. I, however, was freaked out. The fear of seeing a ghost in striped clothes at the end of the hallway or in a window made me sprint from the stairs to my room at night. Years later, when I was about 18, Mom and I were driving and talking about a dog we briefly had as kids. We laughed about how Max chewed my shoes and got into mischief when Mom blurted out, "Remember when I opened the door for the cops, and Max bolted to the kitchen and tore into that huge bag of dog food?" I was floored. We'd never called the police in that house. We had guns, lived in a quiet rural West Virginia area, the whole deal. I asked what she meant, and she looked surprised, like she'd let something slip. "Oh, I never told you. You were too young." One night, I woke up to noises outside and saw a man staring into my bedroom window. She said she turned on the light, he took off, and she grabbed Dad's gun and called the cops. I don't remember all the details I gave them. Tall white guy in a striped shirt, jeans, short dark hair, something like that. The cops said his description matched a man they were looking for, a fugitive who'd escaped from prison, where he was serving time for murder. It sounds obvious now, hearing these stories back to back. But it wasn't until my early 20s that I pieced it together. My brother, without knowing it, was warning us about an escaped murderer hiding around our house for several nights. That's it for now. Thanks for listening to these stories. Check out our previous videos linked here, and be sure to subscribe to our channel. Stay safe.